Thanks, Phil.
We'll call
We are streaming.
Oh, are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. Wasn't sure if we're ready to go or not here. All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Bloomington Technology Commission, regular meeting for September 2nd, and we'll do a roll call. And we got Eric joining us for a second here, so okay, so Jacob Elterich, Mr. Duvari, Ravi,
Yep.
Here. Jennifer Brown,
Present.
Robert Davis,
Present.
Gary Newmeyer,
Here.
and Eric Fisher. Yep. Mr. Fisher has yours. Okay, so the only one we're missing then is Jacob.
Sorry, I'm here.
There we go.
Okay. And Craig, you're with us, and Mark, I don't think I've ever met you.
Yep. So we have Mark Owens joining us today. He is helping me out and the city as the Assistant Director of Information Technology. So I just wanted to introduce everyone to Mark. He's going to be hopefully offloading a few projects here and there and maybe involved in some of the subcommittee groups that we've been talking about. Mark, you're welcome to introduce yourself too.
Hello, nice to meet all of you. I'm excited about joining you. And so I've been retired for 2.5 years after taking early retirement from State Farm Insurance. I had worked in IT for 33 years, took my early retirement, and I've been teaching at ISU for a couple of years now, just part-time. So I decided the pandemic was a good time to start working again. So thankful to be here.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public comment. Do we have anybody online for public comment?
We have nobody present and nobody has submitted public comment.
All right. And we'll move on to the minutes for August 5th. So everybody had an opportunity to review them. Any corrections or changes that you'd like to see? Oh, there's Jacob. Jacob, we've already made through roll call and public comments. We're now on the minutes.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Again, any comments, questions, changes to the minutes?
No.
If none, I'd accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll motion to approve the minutes as written.
Jennifer,
second that.
second. Who second?
I'll second.
Robert, all right. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Sorry,
Opposed, same.
Chairman Murphy, we do have to do a roll call vote
Oh.
as a reminder on that.
Sorry. Okay. We'll do a roll call then. Mr. Elderich.
Aye.
Mr. Duvari,
Aye.
Ms. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Newmeyer,
Aye.
Mr. Fisher.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Moving on to the regular agenda. We have the annual work plan, our areas of study. And first one up on the list there is privacy and data policy. Ravi, Gary, do you have anything to report at this point?
Nothing at this time.
Okay,
I do not.
no problem. Moving on to the 5G cellular communications. Jamie, Jacob, and myself. Anything you guys have to report? I did notice if anybody hasn't seen them, but there are a number of 5G poles, I guess I would call them, up in Normal. I was kind of surprised to see.
I was seeing this article on WGLT the other day that says there's already 35 permitted locations here in Bloomington and 15 in Normal. I don't know if that means that there are already some here, but I'm curious to learn more about that.
It appears they're all in normal, so
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I know we have small cell antennas in place, but we do not have a mechanism to track the technology that's inside those small cells. And to the best of our knowledge, at least as of last month, we were not aware of any active 5G small cell antennas up yet in Bloomington.
Do we have any like channel of communication with Verizon or AT&T to kind of discuss what their plans are? I know like on the enterprise side, it's pretty easy to establish those lines, but not sure on the government side.
Yeah, we have been in contact with our Verizon rep and our Sprint rep, which is now T-Mobile, about what they're doing, and we've asked for increased communication in regarding to 5G. At this point, we haven't had any continued conversations with either of those companies at this point.
Gotcha. How often is that? Is that like a monthly status call, or what does that look like?
To be determined, really.
Gotcha.
The hope is that at least quarterly.
Okay. Any idea what those antennas, those 5G antennas look like? Trying to spot them driving around town.
if you're out near Menards and Sam's Club, it's on the Sam's Club side, and it literally almost looks like a traffic signal pole without any arms or anything on it. They're brown in color. There's a couple there. I think there's a couple going down Red Road in that area. And I think I saw one the other day near the ISU campus. So they're not, I guess I would say they're not that offensive looking. I mean, it's no different than a light pole or something. Of course, I've seen the nightmare pictures of stuff hanging off a telephone pole and that type of thing. These are fairly clean looking antennas. Craig, do you know where we're at, as long as we're talking 5G, with the consultant that the city and Town of Normal were working on?
Yeah, I can give you a quick update. The proposals did come back. I believe we had 4 vendors that provided proposals, and we are in the process of evaluating those vendors and scheduling additional interviews at this point. So hopefully by the next technology commission meeting that we'll have more information to share about which vendor was chosen and kind of a direction and maybe a possible timeline on implementation of that proposal and solution.
You did say 5 vendors, right?
4.
4. Where did I get 5?
But I will say we did get some strong responses and feel pretty good with the responses that we received.
Okay. Anybody else, anything on 5G? We'll move on then, or to the current state of technology with the city. Jennifer, Craig, Jamie. I know Jennifer, you and Craig were looking to meet or have met, or some discussion.
Yeah, Craig had sent me some additional information, I think maybe last week, I think that was Craig. So I've taken a look at that. I'm, kind of doing some, with the resources that I have, I'm kind of taking a look at what they have and what the, I don't know what you guys call them. We call them LARs, like the reseller. We call them large account reseller. So whoever your LAR is, it looked like they had provided you a couple different proposals that you're trying to decide between. So I just need to get a chance to sit down and, kind of look at all 3 of those proposals and see what the difference is and kind of what they're proposing based off of offerings I know that are available from Microsoft. Craig, I think that you had mentioned that maybe you have like a third-party consultant that's also helping you as well. I don't know if you've had any conversations with them or not.
We have not yet. The hope is that still get that scheduled this week. Certainly, if you're willing and able, we can extend that invite to you as well, so you can join in on that and kind of listen in to figure out what they have to say. I expect that conversation is going to be around more of the details of the licensing and kind of where Microsoft is moving with their licensing and kind of how to really just navigate all their terminology and determine, what it is we're getting versus what we're paying for and using versus not using. But yeah, just to go in a little bit more on your large account reseller, being government, we're just a little bit different on that because generally Microsoft goes and each state has an agreement with Microsoft, and that agreement gets won by a certain vendor. Historically, it had been CDWG, where they were the state license contract holder for Microsoft. What that entails is any government entity within the side of the state of Illinois can leverage that contract and get that contracted pricing.
Okay.
So we're at the maximum tier, discount tier from Microsoft. This year's a little different because Dell Technologies has won that contract. So it adds a little bit of a wrinkle in there where, we now have to deal with a new vendor, not quite as experienced with them. But it doesn't necessarily preclude us from getting quotes from CDW or any other reseller for that matter. Historically, what we have seen is the state contract pricing is hard to beat. But, certainly I think worth investigating to make sure that we are getting the right pricing.
Okay. So do you do any negotiation directly with Microsoft for that pricing, or do you work through that? Whoever the contractor is that wins it, in this case, it'll be Dell Technologies. Are you negotiating pricing with them, or is the pricing set and you're just trying to determine how to license things moving forward?
Yeah, really, the state of Illinois does all that negotiation on our behalf. So it's already pre-bid, it's already settled.
Okay.
So we really truly are trying to figure out just license counts and making sure that we're truing up correctly.
Okay. That helps.
Yeah, and there were, as you mentioned, there were 3 different options, with basically renewing with what we have now, but upgrading to their Microsoft Office 365, or they just call it, Microsoft 365 licensing, which includes the OS licensing with advanced threat protection. And then the third one is that same model of Microsoft 365 with advanced threat protection plus EMS, which is the enterprise mobile management stuff.
Suite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you guys done any or had any conversations on what are your requirements? I know that you had mentioned last time that you were taking a look at Intune. Do you feel like you need the entire EMS suite? Do you know what's included in that suite and what products you may or may not use? Same thing with Microsoft 365. Has Dell or anyone given you a listing of all of the products included in that bundle?
So one of the attachments that I sent, I think about halfway through that, really outlines all the offerings and in bullets, what each one is included. And then actually each one of those has a link to further details on the Microsoft page that describe those. But we have not had the in-depth conversations with Dell or CDW about that. We've had initial discussion with our Microsoft rep, just kind of briefly explaining some of the differences. But we are truly still evaluating, what those differences are and if those are required or even needed or wanted in the time frame of this agreement. I will say, we're currently investigating what we're doing currently with other third-party companies. For example, we use McAfee as our virus and spam malware protection suite. Obviously there's overlap there now with Microsoft Defender, so we're really kind of paying for 2 different things. Does it really make sense, that we're spending money with Microsoft and McAfee, and can we consolidate that back into, our Microsoft agreement and provide better use and justification there? Same thing, with our mobile device management software. We use a product from VMware called AirWatch. Could in fact Intune replace AirWatch and save that amount of money as well?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, basically that's what I was looking for of, because I've got some literature on what is included in each of those bundles as well. But, Microsoft is great about selling you a bunch of things that you don't need, but including them in the bundle. And then you have, just to your point, now you've got overlapping features and, it kind of forces a business to make a decision to kind of make it to make Microsoft almost like a one-stop shop. So then you're kind of at the mercy of what Microsoft decides. So good to know that you guys are kind of determining which products you do and don't need.
Yeah, and it is a fine line, just like you said, that it's nice to have that one-stop shop and have everything integrated and have this perfect panacea of software, but it can hamstring us a little bit as we're at the mercy of Microsoft at that point. And if anything fails or becomes a problem, then all our eggs in one basket, and it becomes difficult to troubleshoot or even resolve. And really on the other hand, it's just are we ensuring that we're getting best of breed? Microsoft does have a very solid lineup of software, but do they truly provide the best solution for mobile device management? And what's that point? What's the tipping point versus saving money versus making sure we get exactly what we need with AirWatch or some other solution? Same thing with McAfee. I mean, there's a huge argument there that Defender is great, but it may not be as robust and enterprise proven as McAfee is. Are we willing to take that risk and save our money there, but yet put us a little bit more at risk from a security standpoint, potentially even? I'm not even sure.
One question I had for you too. So how does the city today track licenses? So like, is there one person within the city that, ensures license compliance for our Microsoft products, or are there like, different people that are quote unquote product owners, like, hey, you're responsible for making sure our SQL Server licensing is correct and accurate, and, like providing those numbers? Or how do you know what amount of licenses you need, and how do you verify that?
So all the licensing is driven from the IS department. So we control that count. Depending on the license that is in question, whether it's SQL Server or enterprise server based licensing, it may come from our system administrator. If it's more end user based, it may come out of our operations division, that track desktop usage. Generally speaking, from a Microsoft agreement or enterprise agreement, this is the flexibility we gain by having an enterprise agreement is, we really don't have to worry about license counts throughout the year. Every year we do a true up. So the agreement is a 3-year agreement, but every year when we get to the point of renewal for that annual agreement, we do a true up process, and they provide tools that help scan the network and verify that we're in compliance. And if there's additional licenses that are needed, we can add them or true them up at that time.
Okay. So you guys so Microsoft does some sort of scan of your environment to ensure that compliance on a yearly basis. Okay.
Yeah, and that gives us the flexibility, if we need a rush like we've had for COVID, we needed a bunch of laptops to go out into the field, right away. We can get those licensed, up to date, and ready to go, and we don't have to worry about acquiring those licenses.
Yeah. Which I think that's how Microsoft licenses with every company, but it's interesting that they come in and do a scan, because that's
yeah, they don't necessarily come in and do a scan. They provide us tools that we run the scan.
Required by the agreements.
Yeah.
They have that right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand that they have the right, but like, I know that for commercial entities, we don't run those, right? Like, we're just responsible for making sure that we're providing those true up counts and saying, hey, here's what we think our license counts are. Here's what we think that, we owe. So we don't run a tool that Microsoft sends to us.
I do, as well as other companies I know do. You guys may be a special case.
Yeah, even after running that tool, it's still there's a certain level of interpretation that you need to determine, is that license really apply in that situation? And we have extensive conversations with Microsoft and whoever that contract holder is at the time to determine, do we need to count this or not? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that reconciliation part. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Well, I will certainly send you an invite, and you're welcome to attend that if you want or are able, and go from there.
Okay, yeah, definitely. If my work schedule lines up, I'll definitely try to join that.
Yeah. Now, I will say, just as a note, we're coming up for renewal, I think, at the end of October. In order to change vendors, we're supposed to do this within 90 days.
Yeah.
We're actually well within 90 days now, so we're kind of in a crunch at this point.
Yeah.
But we can get it done.
Well, I don't think looking at a different like reseller or whatever you guys in the government world call it, I don't think that's necessary. I mean, if the city or if the state has already negotiated it, I think it's just, looking at the options they proposed and like, does that make the most sense? And does that provide you the flexibility? And, are you, we certainly don't want you to overbuy, but we want to make sure that whatever products you are buying are beneficial and, being good stewards of, our taxpaying dollars. So, yeah, so I'll definitely take a look at those and look at the use rights for the products. And, do you know what product terms version you're working off of? Like, do you guys work off of like the most current, like product terms and online services terms from Microsoft or?
Yes.
Okay.
For whatever tenant that we're currently licensing for. So in our instances, we're in the GCC tenant space, which is the special government tenant. So there are different terms than the normal commercial channels.
Oh, okay. For the online services or also for the product terms?
I believe both.
Okay, that's good to know.
Anything else? All right, we'll move on then to the city infrastructure stuff. Overall, Jennifer, Eric, and Craig, anything to report at this point on those?
No, I don't think we've met on that. We probably need to get something scheduled though.
What about the, moving on then, what about the smart street lighting, Gary and Ravi?
We had a really good meeting on the 12th. Craig, Jamie, and Billy Tyus participated in that. And they gave us a really good lay of the land in terms of what the current status is and some of the basically kind of what it looks like with Corn Belt and Ameren and, their willingness to comply or help with this project, I guess. Summarize it basically, Corn Belt's on board with doing an audit to figure out who owns which poles. Ameren originally did, but backed out saying that they've got a 10-year plan to convert and they're on year 2. And so they're going to handle it on their own. And they, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, because this was my takeaway, and just that they aren't so interested in helping us understand who owns what at this moment.
Yeah, they have an ongoing project right now and are kind of focused on that.
Yeah, and it seemed to me that was the big question: who owns what poles, and getting some sort of inventory done on those. Go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, there was also some additional discussion just in terms of what it would cost to take over the lights ourselves versus putting up new lights. And then some experience from other towns that have done this. And I think it was something like, it's around $650 to purchase a pole as compared to $4,000 to erect a new light pole. And I think from other communities in the state that have taken ownership, they said it looks like it went from about $13 per month per light to anywhere from $2 to $5 per month per light. So some significant cost savings. In addition, although there's maintenance contracts for the vendors for Ameren, particularly to service the lights if they go out or something goes wrong with them, they usually end up contracting it back to the city. So we're paying them to pay us a lesser amount to fix our own lights. So it looks like that would definitely be a win-win-win all around if we did. So I think as we get more information, I think there's a much better case to be made for the city taking on responsibility for purchasing and then owning and upgrading the lights. But as always, it's an evolving situation. We're learning more. Gary, did I miss anything?
just one point I note, or a couple things maybe in driving around town, around Bloomington, and just since our meeting, taking notice of where the streetlights are. A lot of, on the main thoroughfares anyway, like Hershey and GE Road and Airport Road and whatnot, a number of the streetlights seem to be attached directly to utility poles or to stoplights. So there's a lot of the poles on the, seemingly on the main thoroughfares anyway, that are not standalone street lights with the poles. So I don't know. It seems we'd have to figure out what would be involved in trying to acquire that type of street light. The other thing we touched on was other functions incorporated into these new smart LED lights, such as audio and video, and how those could be utilized for other functions within the city. Anyway, my takeaway on this is it's quite a little can of worms that we're looking into here. Not highly straightforward at all.
Okay.
I wanted to jump in real quick. One thing too, like as I was kind of looking through some of the Microsoft data, Craig, this might be a question for you, but like thinking through some of this like smart street lighting and smart water, whatever they're called, meters, that's the word I'm looking for. As they're collecting data, are those pinging back to any of our like Windows servers? Is that where we are storing that data? Because I know that like in a training that I was in recently related to Microsoft licensing, they talked a lot about how, with this whole world of like the Internet of Things and all of these devices capturing data, like Microsoft can come after you like in an audit. Because they want you to license by endpoint. And if all of those endpoints are coming back into our Windows server, I just didn't know, is that something that you've contemplated with all of these discussions about these smart devices?
Yeah, certainly it's always a consideration, and it has been for years, even going back to SQL Cal licensing and how we have to keep track of those. And it kind of follows that same model, just like you said, where anything that touches a SQL server needs to be licensed at some point, whether that's through an IoT license or, an actual full client Cal license or a core Cal license. So yeah, we do always take that into consideration anytime we're standing up new software, new services, and what it touches and what it communicates with. Thankfully, a lot of these services are cloud-based services or software as a service, so they're not necessarily on our network, even though we can report to those servers and pull data from those servers. They're technically not part of our environment. That's kind of what's saved us on a number of instances like that.
Okay. Just something I thought of that I was like, you could get in a sticky situation really quickly if you don't contemplate that as you're looking at like costs for these things.
Yep.
Good point. Anything on street lighting at this point?
One other thing, Craig, Ravi, I don't recall where we left it as far as any follow-up after our August 12th meeting.
I think there was some discussion of a consultant to come in and kind of do some of the work potentially on figuring out the ownership question.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up with Billy on that and find out what the to-dos are there. But I know we had talked about potentially having interns or some other co-op to come in and kind of help us do some of that work ahead of time and kind of get our own numbers ready for this project.
Okay. Anything else on street lighting?
Nope.
Move to water meters. Similar subject. Nothing to report.
Yeah, we didn't really get into smart water meters during that call. It was really all focused on lighting. We touched on a little bit, just the expansion of that radio system that's going to, provide common point connections to various water meters in people's homes and in commercial businesses, so we don't have to ride around and collect that data. But we really didn't get it too much on that the August 12th call.
Okay. And then last but not least, traffic signaling, anything on that?
No.
Out here.
Okay. Any plans, just a general for everybody on the different groups meeting over the next month? Anything set, just to kind of?
I had just emailed Craig and Gary about the data and privacy policy stuff, tried to set up a meeting,
Okay.
maybe see if we can get some conversation on that.
When did you send that, Robbie?
About 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's why I haven't seen it. Good.
All right. Anything else on the work plan? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Any old business? Any new business?
Hey, Joel, quick question for you. I'm not sure where this should go. So I missed the meeting 2 months ago. I was busy Wednesday night, missed the meeting, so I didn't grab onto any teams. I'm not too sure if it's too late or what I should do now. I mean, I know, like, by interest, I'd like to join the 5G team, and I'm not too sure what the name of the team is that Jennifer was talking about earlier with sort of the Microsoft licensing and the inside look at the city IT, but I would definitely be interested in that as well.
Okay, we can add you to that.
Perfect.
That's the current state of technology with the city.
Perfect.
Item C.
The question is, if there's 3 people from the group on that, does that make it open?
Oh, that's right. We get into
Yeah, we do have to
Forum.
limit
Can't
it
be
to
2
2.
people per.
yeah.
So I guess with that knowledge, I mean, I'm not going to be super picky. I guess what groups would be available then?
So I'm on 2 different ones, Joel. So I mean,
Yeah.
if Robert wants to take,
Well, I was gonna say the same thing. If Robert wants to jump on with you guys in the state of technology for the city, I'm on listed on there. I'll be happy to remove myself from that.
okay, Robert, I think you had said that you had some experience with Microsoft licensing, right?
Definitely, yeah. With Azure
Yeah.
administration and Microsoft licensing, yeah. Quite
Okay.
a bit there.
So that might be helpful if you wouldn't mind, Joel.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I'll take myself off of everything if you know. All right. Any new business? All right. Just a note, just say at some point it'll get out there or whatever. The city is just in the process of finishing up replacing the lighting inside the Grossenger Arena with a new LED lighting system. And reason I know this is the firm I work for is the electrical engineer on the project. And they were there today doing their training and setting it up. And it's actually some really, really cool stuff that they're going to be able to do with it. You know, all kinds of different flashing lights and colors and things that you would see at you know, Chicago Stadium or even some, you know, higher level professional sports arenas. They're going to be able to do in Grossenger. It's really some really cool stuff. You know, for like the national anthem, they can, you know, divide the arena up into 3 different colors, the red, white, and blue, and you know, project it onto the floor and stuff like that. So pretty neat stuff coming up with that. Hopefully get some good press with that. So anyways, I've got a phone call coming in, so I will just ignore it. Pardon me. Any new business?
So I know it was brought up last month. You know, if the thought was we wanted to, you know, not meet next month in lieu of, you know, getting some of these additional meetings scheduled with the subgroups or not. If there's value, of course, of everybody meeting, you know, we can certainly still do that and meet with the subgroups. But I think somebody proposed that last week as well, or last month, sorry.
I think that was me, but I'll throw it out to the group. Do we want to meet again in October or wait till November?
I think that depends on how many subgroup meetings we get scheduled between then.
Well, I can
Maybe
pull
we
up
need
Mark's
to-
calendar.
Maybe we just make it like a requirement that all subgroups need to meet before November. I mean, if we can't make our schedules work in 2 months, then maybe we're on the wrong committee.
I'm okay with that. I think that'd be a good idea, is try to have everybody meet between now and the November meeting, and so that we can report out then in November. At least the status report of where we're at with stuff.
That's fine by me.
Okay.
That seems like a good idea.
All right. Anything else for the group before we move to adjourn? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
So Robbie, second.
I second it.
Gary, is this a roll call then also?
This
Greg?
one we can actually just do yay or nay.
Okay, so all those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Hey.
Opposed, same. All right, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you
evening.
all.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Mark, was it everything you thought it was going to be?
It was, and I have a familiar face on here, Jacob. You remember me
Oh,
from?
wow. I didn't even notice you there.
Jacob was in one of my first classes at ISU, so. Yeah, it was everything I thought it would be, and
All right.
very interesting stuff.
Good, good, glad to hear it. All right then, if I don't talk to you individually between now and November, we'll talk with each of you and we'll meet again in November. So thank you all.
That's good.
Thank
Have a
you.
good couple months and we'll talk later.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.